My big suggestion to students, particularly through high school, is
you can do anything.
Choose it for you, not for it is worth
it. Just focus on the next
Doesn't
step.
matter what you're doing.
Don't be afraid.
As long as you're doing something.
That is such good advice.
I don't think I could see myself doing anything
It's a challenging life.
Student nights, Wednesday to Saturday.
I worked on that house.
I racked up every single dollar of debt that I
I
possibly
think there's
could.
a lot of pressure on high school.
Yeah, I
kids
just
these days,
love working outside.
And if money is something that you care a lot
In
about.
hindsight,
I've also been a very indecisive
But you
person.
keep looking for roads that have been less
It
travelled.
was just that moment that I knew what I wanted to do. So nothing else is going to change that.
Welcome to the guest speaker.
Yeah, this will be good. I mean, you two were good friends at school, so this is quite interesting for me. I think there'll be a lot going on, and you'll be able to help heaps with this, Grace. It's funny, I'm going to start with something that's probably you haven't sent to me, Ben. It took me about 4 weeks to get some info. But my real memory was actually more about water polo, because you had this image at school where, you know, the teams that played prior would wait to see Ben get out of the pool. So there was this image of this wonderful athletic Ben who used to play water polo, very, very good water polo player. But in behind that, obviously, academically at school, very bright, but very relaxed. There was this sort of nonchalant attitude, which is, and I think that's going to come out later in our talk as well, the way you've guided your life. You went after school to Canterbury University engineering, and what's important to us is you're doing structural engineering. We had someone do mechatronics, Sam Bain, someone you'll know well, I'm sure. And so this is probably the more normal side, I think. The mechatronics was a little bit different, maybe not resonating with everyone. Yours is one I've known many kids to go and do, so I'm really interested in that. So that's more around designing buildings, and you did that for a number of years. 7 years living in Christchurch. You shot to Canada, our second engineer who's gone to Canada, which really raises to me some real issues around this qualification and its ability. Maybe you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. For kids who go, I want to travel prior, maybe this is a real option where you've been able to, you know, solid up the degree in the career and then off you go. So I'm really interested to hear how that goes. Some things like law, you can't do that. You know, it just doesn't correspond over, whereas you've found something that you are now working in Canada. So you're also skiing, living the dream. So I think it's important for kids to hear about that. Again, it's that nonchalant sort of taking the piss kind of attitude, which is really, really cool and something Grace and I are really into. When I just Googled your name before, I was hoping to find some dirt, but I didn't. But you were on a lightning talks with your company, GHD, where you had designed these new netball courts. And so it was just you'd just done a presentation on something like that. So it was some of the work you'd done if people wanted to see that. In terms of who is this for, obviously Canterbury. I think we are getting this real hit on Canterbury, but I'm interested in your perspective, your halls, your living, how you paid for that, how you got in behind the whole moving away from home, because this is really important to a lot of kids. It's a big thing. Then the topics you learnt while you were there. We hear when someone goes to a place, but we just really don't always understand the study, how that goes, the topics you're learning, how relevant school was for you. Then your engineering, your day-to-day job. I mean, it's one thing to want to be an engineer, but do we really know 9 to 5 what you're actually doing? And to elaborate on us so a kid can go, well, yeah, I kind of like the topics. I don't like the career side of it, or I do. So I really want you to hit that for us. Yeah, again, living that life to the fullest. I'm sure that's going to come out, particularly once you hit Canada. And before we start, I know Grace has got a couple of photos because I'm going to take you back to school. And I need you to sort of, this is one of the photos, Ben, this was a dress-up day. For some reason, you decided on the girls' uniform. Looking, as Grace said prior off air, it's incredible how good you looked.
I did say that. It's true.
Yeah, that's a classic.
It's a good photo. And then interesting, I'm going to start with that because do you remember what that challenge was that you're doing right there in that photo?
Yeah, this looks like a marble sort of obstacle course, is it?
It's the Jaffa Track Challenge.
The Jaffa track, yeah.
And,
Trying to get the
you
Jaffa
have to
to the end
build
of
it,
the.
and you had a set of rules, and it was engineering based, and you took
Mm,
charge. There's, everyone's watching you do it. So yeah, interesting that was your engineering pathway.
I
Keely and
like,
Janie standing
yeah,
there.
Janie's acting like she's doing something that's classic. I'm not in the
oh,
photo.
she's probably leading the team. I think she's the
Mm,
brains.
Oh,
Me and
yeah.
Bradley are probably performing, and
Oh, is
Kelly
that
and
Bradley in the background there?
yeah.
yeah, we're doing the
Yeah,
work.
yeah, of
Kelly and
course.
Janie are probably leading the way, but need someone to teach us what to do. So
Brilliant, Ben. So hey,
nah,
look,
some
yeah,
good picks.
yeah, good picks, all right. Can I take you back to school and just so we can see where you started and to see maybe the subjects that were important that you will hit and say, well, look, some of these are things kids have, because when a kid comes to a teacher often or a careers advisor, their first thing is, year 11 or 12, I want to be an engineer, but what are the subjects I have to take? And that I don't know whether we really know that for sure. So one, experience with school, how you went about it, and then that subject-based stuff before we talk engineering.
Yeah, man, good introduction. Thanks, Blair. Um, school was. I had a really good time at school. Like I'm sure Grace, for sure, we were hanging out a bit, and yeah, you probably saw me around the way. But um, yeah, we had a great group of friends, and I enjoyed coming to school every day. Subjects I enjoyed from the start. I probably enjoyed everything. I gave everything a go when I was at school, and that kind of probably shows up a lot today in what I do as well. And I'm sure we'll get to that. But um, yeah, I had a really good time um, at school, probably because of the such good friends I made. And we kind of just went from activity to um, pushing each other and encouraging each other. And
Ben, did
yeah,
that
it made for a
prior to
solid foundation.
school? Were you a local kid who went to the primary schools? Were you a group of kids that had grown up together? Is that how it worked for you?
Yeah, I was always in Cambridge. So had a little foundation, started at Cambridge Primary in the town, and then went out to middle and high school. So following through from that, like you've always got your solid foundation. You never had to really make too many new friends. You might add on some new ones along the way at each school, and as new people arrive, and yeah, it was a good time. Um, when I was at high school, I started got really into well, I was always really into my sports. Didn't get into it then. I was giving everything a go, but I also um, really enjoyed your maths, your sciences. Um, Probably did not enjoy Englishes, your biologies, um, more written subjects, and that's just what it was. Those are the things I liked, and those are the things I didn't. But it was all good stuff. So I probably found that my strengths along the way. I was pretty good at maths and physics and chemistry and those sorts of things. And then as I was moving through the years at school, you start to think, oh, what do I want to do when I leave? And um, I probably never really questioned it too much, like I enjoyed those things and I was good at it, and started talking to people, and engineering became like the idea. I was like, yeah, I could give that a go. It kind of just blossomed into something I was going to do.
So, because as you're talking, Ben, I'm just trying to think if you're good at those things. I mean, I suppose there's medicine if you still like the science side of it. The engineering seems to be I'm just trying to think of some others where it really resonates. And maybe I'm just being naive at this point, but most people who are good at those things and good at them early seem to be going engineering. I need to maybe Grace, I don't know whether you can think of anything else.
Maybe like more so now, but even just the gap between when we were deciding college, like universities and stuff, to now is like software and like tech. And maybe there's a bit more of a rise in that. I don't know, Ben, I was far out of all of those subjects. So I don't know if that was an option at the time, but do you think like maybe now that's more of a flourishing field than it would have been like 10 years ago? when you were thinking about it?
Yeah, for sure. Like tech's one of the biggest industries at the moment. But I think a lot of people working in there have come from engineering degrees as well. And I think that's what makes engineering degrees so great, is that you are able, once you've got this degree, right, you can go work as a structural engineer or as a mechanical engineer, or you can do all that stuff, but it's also a ticket that allows you to do anything. Like once you have an engineering degree, I guess, people understand, like it's a pretty tough degree. Like you've got to work hard, and you kind of have to know a thing or two, but it kind of gives you the option to do whatever you want, and you can go into the workforce. And I know people that all straight out of university, they went into finance, they went into tech, they went into heaps of different stuff. But also, like, if you work for 4, 5, 6 years and then you say, hey, like, I'm in my 20s, I still have the option to give stuff a go and try and fail. And an engineering degree gives you the opportunity to do that, because people understand that you've got the ability, which is pretty cool, I think.
Can I ask, Ben, because this is really good, because you're giving this real diverse sort of life opportunity, and then you've traveled. It really is starting to sound like, I mean, a great degree. I'm convinced. Two things. What do I have to be good at? I mean, if you said to a kid sitting there, maybe they're me and Grace, we gun for engineering, maybe we're not as suited as you. Did we have to take stats, calculus, and physics, say? Can I ask that question first? What do I have to do? Or you'd say you've got to be pretty competent or you're going to get drowned?
No, I wouldn't say that at all, to be honest. Like, it's great if you enjoy them, because you're going to be doing a lot of maths and you're going to be doing physics and sciences. And so it's awesome if you enjoy it, because, what's the point if you're not enjoying what you're doing? But particularly when you go to university, there's courses that get you up to speed. It might put you a year behind. It might set you back a little bit, 6 months, if that. But you can get up to speed. You can go in without doing any of the level 3 subjects. And they have catch-up courses that allow you to do that. And as long as you're willing to work hard and enjoy what you're doing, I don't think there's any issues with, I don't know, not being
good.
fully up there. But at the same time, like, it is great if you are good. You're going to have a lot better time. They're pretty challenging courses at times, and some of the workload's pretty heavy. So if you are good, you are going to be, I don't know, you're going to have more free time. You can enjoy it while you're there as well.
Can I also ask you, Ben, I had some kids doing university papers from Canterbury when they were year 13, and they went from merits in the maths to getting A's at uni on their papers, because it's different. Is there another message we can send to kids that, look, even if you're sort of thinking or did you not find that at all? Is it a different way it's taught? Is it a different context? Does it make more sense? Or are you saying, no, you didn't find much difference?
It's definitely way different. Like, coming from school where, I don't know, in a classroom, I felt like I love being in the classroom space. You could talk to your peers and your teachers up there talking, and you can ask them questions, and you can just drill down to every little bit of information that you want to. But when you're in a lecture theatre, and there's some of them at UC, there's 400 other students in first year sitting around you. You're not going to put up your hand and say, why is that? I don't know, X got a 3, not a 2 on it, or like, there are differences for sure. And I think maybe what your students found is they're still in that classroom environment and they can nut everything out together. And whereas potentially when you go to university, it's not the same. And I found that when you're in those first years, it's really important to try and find people you can work with and work together. Otherwise, it's pretty hard to go through one of those degrees without any support. But at the same time, you go, Grace.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, the point you made too about like going through Cambridge, and it's the same for any small town, like, where people can draw parallels, but like, your teachers do know if you're good. or bad. So it can work like the bias can go either way. But then you do go to uni and suddenly you are that 1 in 400. And quite frankly, the professor doesn't care, especially in first year, because maybe a quarter of you are going to drop out anyway. Like that's a moment that I remember in high school not quite comprehending. Was I was like, I'm special. And then you go to uni and you're not. Like people don't know you, they don't know your reputation. So what you said there, I just wanted to highlight is super important about like finding people that form that sense of friendship and community, because it's a real contrast coming from a school, at least how we had it, where it was there, to then you're just 1 of 400.
Yeah. Yeah. It is different, for sure. But I probably wouldn't also say that they're not there to support you at all. At least I found in my time at UC, they are really supportive if you want them to be, like if you can go out and find them and talk to your professor, a lot of the time they are there to help. You do have to take that step and go and talk to them though. So yeah, the option's always there as well. So it doesn't have to be a big scary environment. It doesn't. Yeah.
You're one of many who have said, to reach out to your lecturers. So I think that's a piece of advice we are hearing. My phone's lighting up too. There's a whole lot of people noticed your fringe, Grace. They realise it's the first time you've been on air, and they've got these scrolls of messages. They love it.
Oh,
well
wow.
done.
Thank you for It's very quick sidebar, then I'll go back to your uni. I'll edit this out. In the Netherlands, it's called a pony. And in America, it's called bangs. And here it's called a fringe. So I walked into the Dutch woman and I tried to speak Dutch, but I was like, we're going to need to do this in English because otherwise, what the fuck is going to happen?
Yeah. Let me show you a picture.
I want this. Well, thank you. But to jump back.
Do not edit that out, Grace.
No. Thanks, guys. We have to talk about here because Ludlam, he can't unfortunately participate. But anyway.
Oh, low.
Yeah. Then with UC, University of Canterbury, like I had an experience with AUT, Auckland University of Technology, and then Waikato University. And probably I wasn't a student who was engaged. As we know, I was getting ready to dip, so I wasn't doing what you were doing. But when it came to unis for engineering, like Auckland is a big contender as well and much closer to home. What contributed to your decision of UC?
Yeah. Initially, like when I was deciding, I was year 13, I didn't really know what I wanted. I was going to do engineering because I did maths. I liked maths. I liked physics. I was pretty good at them. Everyone said, I talked to a careers advisor. They said, do engineering. So I was like, okay, sounds good. My brother had done it 6 years prior. And he said it was cool. So I was like, cool. All right. Yeah, where do I go? Like you said, Auckland, Christchurch, Waikato University's got I think a decent program now as well. They're all pretty on par. It wasn't quite like that when I went, but I think they're all pretty comparative. So why UC for me? Initially, when I was applying for universities, I applied for as many scholarships as I could. I was like, this is just like free money. I'm just going to send out applications and see what comes back. And then they got back to me. Some declined. I ended up getting some, which was awesome. And I got some from both Auckland and Christchurch. And then I actually ended up with less from Christchurch. And I was like, well, I actually still really want to go there. I'd been to visit the campuses. And I think just hearing stories from my brother and visiting the campuses, and I could not see myself living in central Auckland in the big, like I think the campus is right downtown. I couldn't see myself going from Cambridge and then living, I don't know, a heavy life in this big city. So I was like, well, Christchurch it is then. So that kind of made that decision. And it was great. Like it suited me to a T, really. As you guys know, I was really into sports and the outdoors, and Christchurch is 100% the place for that. You've got mountain biking and hiking on your back door. you can go surfing after uni, skiing after you go skiing in the morning and lectures in the afternoon. Like there's not many places you can do that. So yeah,
You didn't
it kind
find
of
moving away, Ben, from home at all hard? Like some kids do find it was, mum and dad had done a great job. You were ready to go and off you went. But no, packed your bags, jumped on a plane and what hall did you stay in and how was it? And some feedback around that.
yeah. I went into College House, which is one of the kind of main halls around the uni, and I went there because my brother had been there and he had an amazing time. And it's so different to anything I was used to in Cambridge. It's a real traditional hall. And so it's got lots of like old school things it does, like 3 days a week, you'll wear gowns to dinner. It's like academic gowns, and you'll go to dinner and everyone sits there and you just chat. It forces everyone to be in one place where you chat and I don't know, mingle and get to know people. And I think that was one of the reasons I probably had such a good time in my first year. But then at the same time, I say that the first month, 2 months, was hard, like being away from home. I wasn't used to being away from my parents, and they'd been there my whole life, right? And doing things like doing my washing every week, like just like the simple things you take so much for granted. Yeah, it was pretty challenging, and going into these places where they're full of people from all over the country and completely different backgrounds. Like it takes a while to find out where you sit and who you want to be friends with and who probably doesn't, who you don't want to be friends with, and it is a process, and it's really difficult. But I found that you do just have to like be completely open and like try new things and get out and do stuff, and it's the best way to meet people.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
that's probably what I did to make it a good time.
Yeah, no, that's good advice, Ben. So can you, I don't know how briefly you can go through your year 1, 2, 3, 4, or however many years you did, to sort of say to a kid, well, this is what you're going to learn. Year one's all about this sort of stuff. And yeah, how would you describe the learning, the content side of engineering?
Yeah, I'd say the first year is kind of split up. First year is pretty introductory, so they call it like the intermediate year, and it is kind of split up into 2 rounds. So you've got like your maths and your physicses, and they're like a step up from NCA level 3. So it's just kind of like level 1, 2, 3, and then again your level 4, and it just kind of advances on all those things and increasing your technical skills and that sort of stuff. And then you also have like courses that are more relevant to, I don't know, learning how to be an engineer and the ways of thinking and that sort of stuff, and a bit more of the high level stuff as opposed to the technical skills. So it just kind of eases you into that sort of way of thinking. And yeah, the first year's kind of straightforward in that sense. So like it's just a step up technically, and then you get introduced to some new topics. And then second year again, it's probably the same sort of thing, except you then start specializing in what you want to do. So your first year, you're kind of doing all sorts of stuff, and they're just teaching you maths and physics and chemistry, and then you go, right, what path do I want to take? Do I want to be a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer or a mechatronics or electrical or software or whatever it is? And then they start to cater the topics to what a civil engineer will do, which I'll speak to because that's what I did. And then they kind of give you some new topics. So you might go do a surveying course for a civil engineer and do some more maths and some more physics. That's a bit more hard. You learn some coding and you learn other useful skills. And then in your third year, So you've built the real good technical foundation now, and then you start to get into courses where you start to apply it to real world problems. So they start giving you projects in your third year where you start to design parts of buildings. You might design a few beams, which is, at the time, it's, well, this is, how do you do this? But it ends up being just the fundamentals of what you do. You end up, I don't know, coding different things to design buildings, or a lot of civil engineering is also around water infrastructure, right? So you're working out the size dams need to be on a high level to retain water behind them, and then fourth year again just builds on that further. So you get more into the weeds of, I wanted to focus on structural engineering. So I did a few more structural papers, and we get into the weeds of using different materials to design stuff, and slowly it just gets more and more honed into what you want to do and building that technical background.
So this might not go well for me. I'm going to ask so from a layman's terms, I've got a wall supporting between a kitchen and a lounge. If it's a supporting wall, and I said, Ben, come and do me a favor, you walked in and went, no, you can't knock that wall down. You're going to need to support it. You'd then go about being able to calculate the weight of the next story, I presume, to know the size of the beam that needs to be put in. Like, you start to mathematically unwind to get to a safe thing and I said, I don't like metal. And you say, well, it's metal or nothing because the strength I need, or I could give you this, that's
exactly right. That's my job. Like,
right.
We're pretty much taking what someone wants, or in a building, or some sort of infrastructure, and finding a practical way to make it work within budget constraints and other things.
What does I have a silly, this is going to actually be a silly question and you love them. So, because I'm thinking of like Aiden with the builder, and he talked about sometimes with reno jobs, like there's a wall and they're like, the thing should have collapsed because you took out like a important wall. But like, so does an architect, and you might not know this, but like, would an architect need someone like you, Ben, to make the design happen? Or do architects know this sort of stuff? Because they design buildings.
No. So us and architects work really closely together. So like, we're the ones kind of interacting all day long. Besties and also worst enemies at times. But so a lot of like houses and that sort of thing don't really require structural engineers too much, just because they're like tried and tested. They've been building houses for years, whereas I don't know, computers and structural engineers probably haven't been needed for so long. Where you need a structural engineer is more around infrastructure that's a bit more bespoke, right? So like, where you've got, say if you're building a really fancy house and you want it to have no walls around the outside, so you want it all to be glass, that's where we'll come in and say, hey, we can do that for you, but you'll need some really big beams through here, and then that sort of thing.
Cool.
Whereas, say for your standard house, it's more like there's kind of books you can just be like, oh, we'll just put this in here and this in here and this in here, and you just pick things out of a catalog, and it's a bit easier, but or less mathsy.
You're also dealing with my geography mind, Ben. It might be a coastal thing, and then you're starting to factor in wind. I'm wanting to do it in Kilburnie, Wellington, and you're going, well, it's going to shake. So you're also bringing in, say, geography, risks, hazards, which means more strength or more movement, maybe?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. One of the big things in New Zealand is earthquakes, right? So earthquakes underpin a lot of what we do. And they're super interesting from like, if you're into your maths, like the statistical point of view, like everything we're basing buildings on is around statistics. So like, what kind of level of shaking in the earthquake are we okay with before the building falls down. Like a building is going to fall down no matter what if you shake it hard enough. There's nothing that's going to stop it. It's just how hard can you shake it until it happens. The same with wind, right? There's always levels to everything. It's just okay determining what you're, I don't know, happy to accept.
Are there like a lot of houses or buildings that were made without those earthquake considerations, and then not necessarily you, but like people have to go in and try to like make them earthquake proof now?
Yeah, well, that's a big part of our job as well. Is I haven't done too much of it personally, bringing buildings up to new codes. Like codes are constantly getting updated, and a lot of time just getting more stringent as I don't know, new scientific studies come out saying that I don't know, earthquakes are getting worse, and not worse, but they understand them better in New Zealand, meaning that buildings need to be updated, and that's where you'll engage a structural engineer to come in and say, hey, if you make these beams or these columns bigger, then it'll be okay. Or we might come in and say, hey, no, your building's actually okay. You don't have any worries.
What's the, and then I'll actually shut up for a second. What is the reputation of like a structural engineer? Because like for mechatronics or whatever Sam was, I feel like that was kind of like they come in and they've got like a bit of a mysterious vibe about them. But are there like, not stereotypes, but what would you say you fit in? Like if all the engineers got into a circle, how would they feel about each other?
I'd say,
on, Grace.
Yeah. Yeah, I reckon we're probably like we're all very analytical, I'd say. Like our job is to take maths to show that something works, right? We're not really guessing too much. Like everything has to be proven. That kind of dictates everything we do. So yeah, I'd say that we're like the analytical, the straight thinkers. You have to be very honest and reliable. Like if you're faking your numbers so that the client gets a more affordable building, completely unethical, but also terrible, because at the same time, your building would potentially collapse. And we're not just dealing with money or something. Like if buildings collapse, I guess people die, and that's kind of what you're trying to preserve.
Because I just wrote down, Ben, the word liability, because I'd imagine in any building industry, whether you're a builder or even a plumber, if your work isn't up to scope. And then I was also going to ask, did you go through the Christchurch earthquake? And then there were buildings there that, you know, legal stuff started because they, I think, exactly happened what you did. The designer or the architect bluffed it, or the engineer, and it fell over and killed people. So I suppose there's three things in there. Liability, how big is it for you? How worried do you get? And do you know what the hell I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, the thing is liability is a huge one for structural engineers, right? We're the ones that are assigning a building off, saying it's safe to occupy. It's okay to have people in there. But you don't get to that stage straight away. So you don't come out of university with a degree and you say, yep, I can go around designing buildings for New Zealand. It's a pretty rigorous process to get to the stage where you can sign stuff off. And that's called getting your chartership or becoming a chartered engineer. And it's something you can do in no matter what field of engineering you're in New Zealand. So whether you're working as a mechanical engineer or anything. But for a lot of different disciplines, you're not really required to sign stuff off. But for structures, everything is required, or generally, most things are required to have an engineer sign them off. And that process to get to that point just requires a lot of experience. So generally, it's after about 6 years of professional work, working as a designer, you get to the stage and you pretty much collate all your work experience, and you go through an interview process with a panel, and then they'll ask you some questions and decide whether they think you're fit to be a structural engineer.
Hey, Grace, this is good.
We've not heard about this charteredness. Are you chartered? Or like
Am I chartered? No, not yet. No. So I've only been working for like 4 years, and I've started to have my first friends from university get their chartership now. So they're like the ones that are like really pushing for it, and some people will race to get it, right? It's like a certificate for what you've been doing. It shows you've worked hard, and it shows you have the experience, which is awesome.
And more money?
But generally you do get a bit more money. Yeah, they'll give you a percentage increase. I'm not really sure. But just with the added responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Because you are more liable for stuff because you're
Yeah.
named.
Yeah, a lot of the time they won't be getting you to sign stuff off straight away. You might start off with little things, right? Like a little retaining wall or stuff like that. But yeah, you build into everything. And like structure engineering is a lot of the people that are signing stuff off have been working for 20, 30, 40 years. Like this isn't their first rodeo when they're doing these things. So
That's
they
good.
do know what they're doing, and
Yeah, you wouldn't want
it's a good way
like
to have it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want newbies out there trying to because also like some people pleasing. I'm sure when you're more green in your industry, like if you've got a little bit of pressure or there's a timeline and probably things have gone over budget because that's just how it works, there would be times I can imagine where signing it off would be like the thing that everyone wants to happen. But that's the whole ethics you talked about. Like if it's not up to code, then it's not up to code and lives are at stake.
Yeah, exactly.
Does work, we're going to probably jump back to Canada anyway. What is your work you're doing there going to count to the chartership, or have you sort of put I don't know, you've stopped that progression because you went to Canada?
No, I I do need to 100% confirm this, but I'm pretty sure that my work experience here will count towards my work in New Zealand, and it does vice versa as well. So I'm thank you because in Canada, the chartership you can apply for it once you've done 4 years of work, and generally everyone does. So it's something I'm thinking about doing now to apply for my Canadian chartership, just as something to have and it'd be a good experience. I probably won't be here for my whole life, but a good thing to do.
Can we talk then
And
Canada, Ben? Because I do want to get
yeah,
this. These are young kids, they're 15, 16, 17, and the world's their oyster. And, they can do their OE. They can, sort of try and do what you did, maybe get a qualification and go. Look, what was the reasoning behind a really cool thing you're doing, which is about life, I presume, or you'll tell us why Canada? Did you do other travel? And what is it giving you to enrich yourself, I suppose?
yeah. Why am I here? Well, I finished uni and I worked for almost 3 years in Christchurch, and I felt like I'd kind of ticked off Christchurch and done everything I wanted to do, and felt like it was time to do something new. So my girlfriend at the time was keen to, or at the time, my girlfriend was keen to
You got news for her, Ben.
was keen to move to Canada, and I was keen as, and we decided to head over. So we actually did 3 months of travel around Europe on our way. So I'd never been to Europe, so went and saw some sites and had lots of fun and tiki toured around with friends, and it was really cool. And then we decided to do a ski season. So we went and spent 8 months in the Rockies in Canada, living in Banff, which is this like picturesque little town, super beautiful. That was an amazing time, super fun. Like I was working up at one of the ski resorts called Sunshine Village. I was working in the rentals department. We were giving out the boots and the skis and helping people fix their skis. And when I was in Christchurch, I got super into skiing, right? The Alps are right there. So I was a pretty avid skier. And then when I did the ski season, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And I probably skied 120 days throughout the season, which I don't think I'll probably do 120 days in the rest of my life. So that was unreal. And yeah, just got to see heaps of the outdoors in the Rockies, and it was crazy. It was a crazy place. Coming from New Zealand, where the coldest it gets is, I don't know, -5. But we were working, and when it was -30 outside, and it was freezing. It was such a change, but really cool place.
So for Kiwi kids looking at options, we always go Europe. You're bound to run into Grace. Canada is easy on a New Zealand passport, like the doors are open and
yeah, doors are open. Super easy. You can get a working holiday visa. It's cool, which is a 2 year long or 23-month long visa on the New Zealand passport, and it costs maybe $400. I can't remember the exact amount. And you have to go up to Auckland and give your biometrics, so do your fingerprint scanning one day, and that's about all you need to do. It's maybe a 2-month process waiting for the visa, but after that you're away for 2 years. You get, and it's a really good place to go because when we were considering where we wanted to go, we were quite keen to go somewhere that spoke English, just because it makes working in a professional environment, which is what we always wanted to go back to, much easier. I'd say working in a professional environment and country you can't speak the language would be super difficult. And then also, it's pretty similar to New Zealand. Like its culture's pretty similar, and just has a lot going for it. There wasn't too much different. So yeah, Canada just seemed like the right option. Yeah, we also had the ability to work here with our professional jobs. Like we could take our experience and everything and it'd be accepted. So finding professional work because my partner is also an engineer. So we could both work as engineers here, which was great. But yeah, working the ski season, finding work for that wasn't actually too difficult. Like being a seasonal job, those towns are expecting influx of the people at certain times of the year. So we went at the start of winter and they had lots of jobs available, and my partner wanted to work as a ski instructor. So she applied at all the resorts around the country, and Sunshine in Banff was the one that got back to her first. So we were like, sweet, we'll take it. And she actually managed to weasel me into a job there just by greasing the HR people, which was quite nice. So I didn't have too much to do. It's a good place to go and really easy.
It's a good call out too, because I think a lot of people look at London, again, big city, access to Europe and stuff, but even just the visa is something insane, like $4,000 or $6,000 now for 2 years. Whereas even me for the Netherlands, it's 79 euros for the year, because the Dutch, like, they're tight with money, so that's beneficial.
They love Kiwis.
Yeah, and then Canada, you're still up in that hemisphere, but it seems like such a cool experience you had in Banff. Like it's undoubtedly one of the most beautiful, magical spots. Is there any desire to like go back, or do you feel like one season was good?
Yeah, it's awesome experience. But I think for me, one season was good. You know, it's pretty full on time. You're skiing, you're having fun, you're not really I don't know, when I was in Banff, like you're not making money. Like I would definitely recommend if people are going to do a ski season, like have a bit of a buffer before you go, because essentially you are just going to eat through. They pay you enough to kind of get by, enough for rent and some food. Working at the ski hill, you get discounted meals, but you kind of eat through your money. So it's probably wasn't a long-term thing for me. And the job I was in, I know there's people that I made friends with in Banff that work in like hospitality jobs. They're like serving, so they're waitresses, waiters. And for them, like working in those jobs is actually like a very viable career opportunity because of the tipping culture in North America. Like in Canada, everyone's getting paid the minimum wage. So it's a bit different to the States where, I don't know, they might not get paid. I don't really know what's going on. But
is tipping. If you don't tip in the States, even for a haircut, you're getting the side eye. Like it's such a big culture. So I imagine Canada's very close. You get those Americans, you get some.
Yeah. And so for the people working in those hospitality jobs, like they're getting big tip outs.
Yeah.
And if I was to do a ski season again, working in hospitality would be like the way to do it.
Ben would be making
you're making like a decent
the old water polo days.
I might stay away from that, but
So can I ask you before we start to wrap up, what how do you see your future? I'm always ask Kiwi kids who are overseas, New Zealand's still home and families here. How do you see your next maybe 5 or 10 years? What's your plan?
Yeah, I think short term, I'm just gonna keep sticking out in Canada, keep exploring. Like there's so much to see and do around North America in general that I probably haven't really ventured into the States much.
Which I've requested, by the way, London, whenever I'm back.
Yeah, gotta wait for Grace to get back there. Pop over to New York, but yeah, so much to do around and so much I want to see. So that'll be the short term, but I think long term, definitely the plan is to come back to New Zealand. Not super sure where or what I want to do, but I think I'll definitely stick with the engineering at least. And I think with the degree that I've got, it gives you the opportunity, if you want, to try different things. And I think being in your 20s, like it's the time to try and see if you like other things. And if you don't, you having such a good foundation now I've done 4.5 years working as a structural engineer, like I've always got something to fall back on. So that's trying something new is always an option. But at the moment, yeah, just sticking it out. Like I said, I might try get my chartership in the near future and try take on a little bit more responsibility, which would be interesting. And yeah.
I was talking to a teacher the other day, and they raised a real good issue to me. They said how blessed I was to get to hear from ex-students, because often, poor old teachers, they wave goodbye and time goes past and you just don't know where they went. So I just want to put a shout out to how lucky I am to catch up with people like you. You just wouldn't know where they are or what they're doing. You look really well, really fit and healthy, and like I said at the start of the interview, I'd almost hoped maybe you'd piled on the weight or something, but clearly you're still like a butt rat and, really cool. So also, Mum obviously did nearly every one of our overseas trips for school for us, and I would have been a nightmare because those logistic liabilities were always awful. So she's still working there, eh?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's amazing, right? Yeah, there was a thing when I left school, right? Like I didn't have Mum there anymore. Like she knows how to keep things in tune. So yeah, she's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, no, look, best of luck with all that, Ben, and great to see you fit and well. It'd be lovely to see you two catching up and all the photos, the chaos that would be.
I look forward to that day. One question I do want to ask, and it's more of a catch-all, is at the end, is there anything, Ben, that we didn't ask? Or but essentially an open floor moment. Did we not ask you something that you think we should have, or anything you want to say?
I got like some brainstorm notes that I wanted to talk about. Probably the thing I found about going to university, right? I talked about it briefly at the start, was going in with like just completely open mind and ready to just try new things. And like when I went to uni, I was already into the outdoors, but like I got real into mountain biking and skiing and just made all my friends through doing stuff, And I think without going out there and just saying yes to opportunities, I probably wouldn't have had that. So I'd probably just, say that's probably the main thing I found positive about going to university is making friends through activities is awesome.
Did you do outdoor ed at school, Ben?
No, I didn't take the subject, no. Did plenty of extracurriculars that probably involve stuff. Many tramps around Tongariro with Grace and other people. So, yeah, it's where you learn everything.
Ben, question for you. If you could go back to just you, Ben to Ben, year 12 or 13, probably having a great time in class with me and other friends, what advice would you give just to yourself?
Probably just keep giving everything a go. Like I've always kind of debated between like, should I just really specialize in something? I never excelled at one thing really highly. But I think that what I've done is great. I've given everything a go. I've tried and I love what I do and I love my life. It's awesome. Just keep doing it. Everything works out in the end.
And ultimately, that's what every school wants of kids. If they can reach your age and say those words, everyone's won. Mum and dad are going clapping, the school's happy. Yeah, that's wicked, man. Love it. Love it. Yeah, you make sure you take care and send my regards to your family. And
it's been great. It's awesome to chat to you too. I love what you guys are doing. I always listen in. It's cool to seeing people I knew and people I didn't know and seeing what they're doing. So great info for the kids.